Hi, today's video is coming at you approximately 15 years too late, but you know what, I have things to say and I'm going to say them. I watched Gilmore Girls for the first time last year, and despite my various frustrations with it, which I'm going to discuss at length in this video, I adore it. It is ridiculous, comforting, super early 2000s, all the good stuff. However, my love for it means I hold it to a high standard. I want the best for this ridiculous cast of characters. And in my opinion, the best was not always executed. Something I'm surprised isn't spoken about more is how some of the behind the scenes stuff with the network and writers and cast likely contributed to some of the series' most disappointing moments. For me, Gilmore Girls is like the ultimate comfort show. It's a show that I just want to curl up and rewatch, but one that I know will be a struggle at times to rewatch, not only because there's so much of it, but also because some of the stuff in it is just so frustrating. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today, my frustrations with Gilmore Girls, the main series, and the 2016 reboot, despite how much I love it. Niche audience, you might think, but I know there's Gilmore Girls stans out there who will lap this up, so buckle in. Oh, and if it wasn't already obvious, massive spoilers for the entire series and the reboot throughout this whole video. Like, every spoiler you can imagine, so do not watch this if you don't want the entire thing ruined. But before we get into that, you guessed it, I'm here to talk to you about Ana Luisa. You may have noticed the beautiful new pieces that I'm wearing, and Ana Luisa are currently running their Mother's Day sale, so there's 20% off the entire site, which you can access at the link in the description. I picked out 3 more pieces this time. The beautiful Hannah Lee necklace, which I just saw and was obsessed with. It's like all my childhood dreams in a necklace. I feel like it's one that Barbie would have in one of those amazing early 2000s Barbie movies that like unlocked a portal to another world or something. Obsessed. It's this beautiful red gem heart pendant on a gold chain with a really eye-catching fastening. I also picked the Cindy necklace, which I am also modelling for you today. I picked this one out because pearls are really in at the moment and I think they're beautiful. And I thought this was a really kind of modern take on a classic pearl necklace. It's got a really, really lovely dainty chain and real freshwater pearl beads spaced throughout. I thought this would be really nice to layer with this necklace and the other necklace that I got as well. The different thicknesses of the chains I think complement each other really well. And I like the length of this one as well. You can wear it almost as a choker or you can extend it. I just thought it was really beautiful. Then I also picked the Lexi necklace. It's like this goddess statue pendant, which I love. It's so, so beautiful and shiny. It's like a little nugget of gold. And I feel it's just like really empowering, you know? It gives me like ancient Greek statue vibes. I love it. Where it's Mother's Day coming up, my mum and Nonna have picked some pieces out from the website as well. I really wanted to get them a little something to say thank you. They've been seeing me get all my Ana Luisa parcels for ages and they want in on it. So they're looking forward to that. The great thing about Ana Luisa is they are constantly releasing new designs. There is honestly something for everyone, but they're released in small batches to keep it sustainable. I just think their designs are honestly always so creative and fresh. Every time I go on there, something else catches my eye and I'm like, oh my god, I've never seen anything like that before. I think Ana Luisa jewellery would honestly be a great gift for any woman in your life this Mother's Day. Every piece comes with a year-long warranty, so you're guaranteed of quality and you can buy with confidence. I genuinely love this brand so much. They're a pleasure to work with and I think you will really love them as well. So remember to click the link in the description to access their Mother's Day sale and get 20% off site-wide. Okay, Gilmore Girls. I am going to start with the main series overall. Obviously, I can't get into too much detail because it was a long series, a lot of episodes, but I am going to give you some of the main issues that I remember from my time watching the series. Again, it was a while ago. I watched it last year, so these are like the things that still stand out to me. And then I will get on to the reunion because I feel like a lot of that was just a dumpster fire. Okay, main series. My main issues. Early on in the series, we know Rory is with Dean. First boyfriend, first of 3 main boyfriends that we get throughout the course of the show. And I think Dean gets a bad rep. Everybody hates Dean. Dean is like the universally hated Gilmore Girls character, and I don't know why. Especially because I know a lot of you are Team Jess. I'm sorry, I can't be having that. I know Dean got annoying, but I think this was a writer's fault. He just had this kind of character transplant, it was really weird, to make way for Jess. They still could have shown the process of Rory falling out of love with Dean, falling in love with Jess, without Dean becoming an absolute insufferable sap, who later goes on to cheat on his wife with Rory. That's not the Dean of early series. You know it's not. He was a great first boyfriend for Rory. I will not have any more Dean slander on this page. He treated her a hell of a lot better than toxic Jess did. Remember that? He didn't try and force Rory to have sex with him, did he? Also, I just found it funny because I rewatched the first episode of Gilmore Girls recently, and Dean is like this mysterious, almost bad guy figure, like lurking in the shadows with his like leather coat on. And that is so far from who he becomes. Jess takes over as this like bad boy figure. But no, I think Dean was a really nice first boyfriend for Rory. If you disagree, then I don't know what to tell you. Yes, he had his flaws. Yes, he had a weird kind of semi-misogynistic view of the traditional family structure, but he was a teenager, okay? Yes, he got a bit jealous and possessive of Rory, but again, a child. Early season Dean is fine. and the writers did not need to turn him into the person he became. Yes, I am this passionate about fictional characters. Yes, I am this invested. I did a degree in English Lit. What do you expect? Point 1. Justice for Dean. Point 2, and I wonder whether this is where a lot more went wrong for Rory specifically, where we start to see the change in her. Rory letting go of her lifelong dream to study at Harvard to go to Yale because her grandparents want her to, essentially. Yeah, sure, she made her own mind up, she decided for herself, but she had always wanted to go to Harvard. Are you telling me that if she hadn't got close to her grandparents, she wouldn't have gone to Harvard? Obviously, it's kind of a plot point for convenience. Yale is a lot closer to where Stars Hollow is in Connecticut. It means that Rory can be in and out of Stars Hollow, but I wonder if this is the moment where things start to go wrong for Rory. And I wonder if that's what the writers were trying to do as well, to show how kind of easily influenced she is, despite being this really headstrong character at first. And by going to Yale, she is buying into that family legacy. She is strengthening her connections with this world of privilege, which Lorelai tried really hard to get her out of. And when you contextualise it with the absolute dumpster fire of Rory's life that happens in season 5, I guess this could be seen as the start of her downfall. Point 3, just Rory. Rory season 5 to season 6. What was going on? She was never particularly likeable, in my opinion. I always found her a bit annoying, but you know what? Aren't we all? I can still root for you, bestie. But then she gets the first bit of valid criticism she's ever had in her life, and she decides to steal a boat? She decides to drop out of Yale? What was going on? The creator of the show, Sherman Palladino, has said that people idealised Rory way too much, and the whole point of this storyline was to show, look, she's not perfect, people make mistakes, but stealing a yacht though. There were so many other more realistic ways they could have shown a slight downfall in Rory or her flaws, but they decided to literally make her a criminal. It just doesn't track with the rest of her character, in my opinion. There either should have been more build up to that point, or they should have just had an entirely different way of showing her to be flawed. Probably mostly this season that is putting me off a rewatch, I can't lie. And then for some of season 6 where she's still not talking to her mum. I just think this whole period in the series is just so crazy and ridiculous. And it was just kind of creating tension for the sake of it. They didn't know what else to do, so let's completely twist Rory's character in the most ridiculous and implausible way. Now we're getting on to the later series, and this is where the behind-the-scenes writers' disputes start to come into play, I think. So Sherman Palladino, the creator of the show, as I said, got into a conflict with the network. The network said it was overpay. She and her husband said it was because they wanted an 8th season and they were only being given 7. They wanted more writers and a short hiatus. They didn't get their way, and so they decided at the end of season 6, that's it, we're done, we're leaving. Let these guys finish it on season 7, we're out. So season 7 was written by other people than the original creator. I personally, for the most part, not all of it, liked season 7, which I'll get onto later. But I kind of think this is why things start to go so haywire in season 6. It was almost like ASP, shorter than Sherman Palladino, was like, we're leaving, so let's just throw a bomb into this show and see what happens. We don't have to deal with it. Let them get on with it. We're off. Peace. And that brings me to big issue number 4, I think. Luke's long lost daughter, April. I don't hate the idea of Luke being a dad. I think the daddy Luke scenes were cute, okay? But again, it's just so contrived. And I know this isn't a realistic show, don't get me wrong. I know I'm talking about this like it's really serious, but I know this is fiction. But yeah, just this teenager showing up in his diner one day are you my dad? Oh my god. Really? Are you gonna do that? Really? And again, I think it's just because they needed a source of tension between Luke and Lorelai and they didn't know what else to do. Because it was so obvious from day one that these two were gonna end up together. How do we create drama for these two characters who have only really ever had eyes for each other? Long lost daughter. April as a plot point and Luke's reaction to her just kind of felt like lazy writing to me. The next point that I'm going to discuss, I think this is the penultimate one, is the treatment of and injustices bestowed upon Miss Lane Kim. Now, to be fair to ASP, I don't think it's her that came up with the Lane having twins after her first time having sex storyline. What the hell was that? But what she and her husband did oversee was marrying Lane off to Zach in season 6. Why did they do that? How does that track with Lane's character at all? Lane wanted to be a rock star, she'd never got to be her authentic self, and then they marry her off and make her pregnant. Also, her being with Zach at all, that was just never supposed to happen. It was so obvious that Lane was supposed to end up with Dave. If you know a bit about the behind the scenes stuff, Lane was actually based on ASP's bestie in real life, whose husband was called Dave. So, Lane and Dave, obviously meant to be endgame. And that didn't happen, I think solely because Adam Brody left to film the OC, which is a real shame. We were robbed. And that's not fully the writer's fault. Adam Brody left, they had to do something. But did they have to marry her off? Why couldn't have she just been Lane? Why did she have to get married to the other guy who was in the band who she'd never shown an interest in before? I just think Lane deserved better. I feel like at times we're just supposed to forget about her, like Rory does for half the time, which feels really annoying because she was kind of such a central part of the early series. And then when they kind of bring her back and they're like, oh yeah, Lane, they just kind of destroy her life by marrying her off and giving her babies and making her really miserable and busy. And I guess that's just to kind of justify the lack of time that Rory and Lane spend together now. But couldn't she have just like gone off on tour or something and been living her best life as a drummer? I don't know. Seems a shame to me. Justice for Lane. And then my last main gripe with the entire series, Lorelai marrying Christopher. Why did this have to happen? I know Luke gets married in the earlier series, and that's really annoying, but we knew it was early on. Maybe it was more frustrating if you were watching it live. I was watching it 15 years later when I could see there were 7 series. And so when he gets married really early on, I'm like, oh, who cares? They're gonna end up together, naturally. When Lorelai married Chris in season 7, the last season, it just meant that the rest was kind of rushed. Don't get me wrong, I love the tension. I love a will they, won't they moment. I love that they got that happy ending at the end of season 7. But did she have to marry Christopher to get there though? People talk about Christopher and Luke being the 2 key loves in her life and like, oh, who will she pick? I'm like, are you kidding? Did she ever even like Christopher? Like, and yes, they got married, I think, in season 7, so ASP had already gone by that point. But season 6 ended with the ultimatum that Lorelai gives to Luke. It says, let's elope or we're not getting married. And he doesn't do it. And then she goes and sleeps with Christopher. So they kind of created the mess in season 6 that then had to be dealt with in season 7. Again, it was just like another bombshell, another spanner in the works that I frankly could have done without. Okay, so they are my main series gripes. Now, things I think they did right. The ending. I think the ending of season 7 was really good. I thought it was happy without being too perfect, and it still managed to retain that kind of optimistic tone for the future. Things had really leveled out by the end, and there was just this strong sense of hope. Everyone lived happily ever after, even though things aren't completely closed book. The end. Lorelai and Luke get their happy ending. Rory's career is just getting started with her impressive, if not really unrealistic, first job working on the Obama campaign trail. And in my opinion, we've even come to appreciate Logan as the best boyfriend for Rory. Trust me, I did not see this one coming. When he was introduced, Logan was absolutely everything I hated, but I think he really mellowed out, became a more well-rounded person, and showed that he really genuinely cared for Rory in a healthy way. Unlike the previous 2 boyfriends, maybe. In the last few series, I really appreciated and liked Rory and Logan as a couple. I thought they were good for each other, they were just kind of at each other's level, they treated each other well, it made sense, right? Didn't love the proposal at her graduation party, nor did I love the fact he broke up with her on her graduation day. Dick move, but none of that felt kind of beyond the realm of possibility. People are young, people make mistakes, people misjudge things, so I didn't think that was like a bad decision on the writer's part. And as much as I ended up feeling like these 2 were right for each other, I think it made absolute sense for Rory to turn down the proposal. It seemed like a decision that the younger, more headstrong, goal-oriented Rory would have made. And the ending of that college relationship right before they embark on the next chapters of their lives so they can work things out individually. I just think it made sense for like 22-year-old Rory's character arc to finish single and career focused. On a related note, can we talk about that scene where Rory and Logan are talking about the uncertainty of their future and their relationship while they're stood at the fork in the road in the hay bale maze? Imagery. And now the revival. I'm going to start with the things they did right this time because I feel like there's less to say. Paris. And the fact that Paris is finally more successful than Rory. It was so deserved. I've been waiting for this one. She didn't get the fully happy ending that we wanted for her maybe with Doyle, but I was just so glad she was rich and successful and finally doing better than Rory because she always worked hard. We knew that she was always really jealous of Rory, so Paris got her, not revenge because they're friends, but Paris got her moment. She didn't get into Harvard, but who's winning in the revival? Something else I thought made sense in the revival was the maintained connection between Rory and Logan. I feel like their relationship at the end of the main series ended so abruptly. So yeah, I think it made sense for them to still be a thing of sorts, although the terms of that thing I'm going to get into later and it is not in the positive section. I feel like their story wasn't finished and so that made sense. And then lastly, something that I enjoyed about the revival was Jess's redemption. I did not like Jess during the main series. However, his maturing and his leveling out in the reunion was something that I really loved to see. See, even I want the best for him. I think he was a really great counterpoint to Rory. Jess did not come from privilege. He didn't have things handed to him on a plate like Rory did. He wasn't seen as this golden child who could do no wrong. He had it pretty tough, but he pursued his passion. He made the opportunity for himself and he wasn't super unrealistic about his goals like Rory was. I remember that season 7 plot point about her applying to that like New York Times internship and turning down a really good job offer because she's waiting out for that and then she doesn't get it. She's quite unrealistic and overestimates her own capabilities, I guess, whereas Jess kind of built himself from the ground up. And yeah, I just really liked his character development. And I think ASP is definitely Team Jess because the way he was looking at Rory in that reunion. I just wish the same level of character progression and development that had been given to Jess had also been applied to Rory and Logan. And I'm going to get onto that in a bit. Now, the issues I had with the reboot. Literally, one of the first things I noticed was the fat phobia, which just made Rory and Lorelai really unlikable, especially considering the diet they eat. I just felt like that scene where they were judging that man's body was so unnecessary and just gross and out of touch with the period it was filmed in. We can look back at the many inappropriate things said in the original series and see them as a consequence of their time. But to see the same sort of stuff carrying over a decade later was just a bit disappointing and unnecessary, I thought. Second thing that I had issue with, Kirk's play. ASP, what the hell was that, bestie? It was just so incongruous. It just did not make any sense. It went on for far too long. I don't know why they thought it was a good idea. Like, I love Kirk. More of Kirk. Yes, please. But like, why this? Fun fact, ASP and the rest of the writers actually wanted Luke and Lorelai's wedding to be a much bigger affair than it ended up being. When she and Luke are engaged in the main series, her and Suki actually talk about the wedding she wants, and it's very much not the wedding she got. It ended up being that small nighttime gazebo affair with like 3 guests. And that was because they used all of their budget on Kirk's play. We were robbed of the Lorelai and Luke wedding we deserved because of Kirk's play. Now all I want to know is how much money they spent on that thing. Jesus Christ. Next thing, which I mentioned before, that I just really hated about the reunion, was the complete destruction of all the character development made of Rory and Logan. As I say, Logan started out for me wholly unlikable, but he grew from that. They showed so much development. He was just shown to be a good person for Rory, I think, by the end. He had changed a lot, and Rory had come back from her season 5, season 6 breakdown and was on track again and was doing really well. As I say, the main series ended on a really positive, optimistic note, her starting her career. Fun times. And then they are just an absolute mess. Both of them individually and together. Rory has a boyfriend who she forgets about the existence of regularly, and she's seeing Logan on the side, who is engaged. It's just so like out of character from the commitment they had for each other 10 years before. They have the whole life and death brigade reunion, which again, I really could have done without. I hated it. I thought it was super cringy, and I hate all that kind of pretentious secret Yale society thing anyway. But it was just like, grow up, guys. Grow up, you're in your 30s. Go and get a job, Rory. Rory has no career to speak of, but rather than really fighting for it and using that to fuel herself, she just wallows in self-pity. And despite all this privilege that she's had, she, 1, doesn't have a job, and 2, is shown to be really bad at her job. They show her interviewing people and she's really rude to the people she's interviewing and so disengaged and disinterested. No wonder you don't have a career, girlie. It's just a completely different character to the really enthusiastic, motivated Rory of the first few seasons. And ASP's whole argument is, life doesn't turn out how you think it will. Life isn't perfect. We have hurdles. Not everybody lands their dream career. Yes, I get that. But I just have a really hard time visualising the progression and the regression, I guess, of Rory from the main series to where she ends up in the reunion. And I just found her completely unlikable in the reunion. And now here's the big one. Those 4 little words that end the entire thing. Listen, I don't even mind that Rory ends up pregnant at the end of it all. I don't. Could be a fun plot point for another series, but I do hate what it stands for. To prove some weird point about daughters always following in their mother's footsteps and history repeating itself. If ASP hadn't left before the end of the original series because of that dispute, she would have ended the main series this way. It was always her goal to have Rory be pregnant. And, you know, in her mind, she was going to be pregnant at like 20. That just would have made me so angry, because at least we can kind of collectively put the reboot in a separate box from the original, take what we like about it, leave the bits we don't. To have ended the original series like that suggests that Rory was just going to turn into her mother, despite their completely different characters and upbringings. I don't agree with that as a concept. And then by extension, is she saying that Logan is going to be the Christopher of the situation? Is she making a parallel there? Is she suggesting that he is going to be the carbon copy, absent father figure that Christopher was? Despite all the progress he made over the series, and despite the years we've invested in him, ASP said the purpose of leaving Rory in this position was always supposed to be that history repeats itself. Daughter follows mother. Where you lead, I will follow. Oh yeah, because that's definitely what happened with Lorelai and Emily, isn't it? I think that Amy Sherman Palladino probably didn't like how the original series ended because it didn't fit her vision, which was always to have Rory become the next Lorelai, to be a young mother. So when she comes back for the revival, she decides to undo an entire series worth of character progression, plot development, all the work that was done to tie things into a kind of neat, digestible, happy package at the end of season 7 to fit her own vision. Lorelai and Luke get married, that's nice, but you're telling us it's taken a decade for them to do that? They never had kids despite wanting them. Not forgetting they seem kind of miserable when things kick off. Richard Gilmore dying was sad but necessary, I guess, given what happened in real life. I don't mind Emily's finding herself in Nantucket storyline, despite it seeming a little out of character. But yeah, the thing that I hated most was the destruction of that character development, especially of Rory and Logan. Destruction of the entire Series 7 plot development, just to land at those 4 final words. Ultimately, I think the show's creator had a completely different vision for the show, the characters, and how things would end than anyone who watched it and liked it. And I think to have committed so wholeheartedly to that, just because of your own tunnel vision as a writer, is a shame. I get that she wanted that sense of realism, that things don't always work out like you hope when you're 20. But I also think driven, motivated, and let's be honest, super privileged people usually have some level of success. Ultimately, it was her show, and she did what she wanted with it, for better or worse. Right. I'm going to get off my years too late Gilmore Girls soapbox now and hopefully go for a walk because it's a beautiful day outside. As always, thank you for watching, and remember to click the link in the description to access Anna Louise's Mother's Day sale. I will see you in the next one. Bye!